Hey everybody. I am feeling waning moon, luteal menstrual phase. I know not all of you menstruate, but they're related. The luteal phase it has that kind of draining energy sort of quality to it. It's usually the week or two before your period starts. And it can be a little bit lower energy and kind of moving in towards quiet, which is the new moon phase or the menstruation phase, if you're making that parallel. So I thought we could do just a nice, gentle practice in that way. So we'll take a moment. I'm going to start seated. I've just got my bolster here for support. And we'll just take a few nice deep breaths. And why don't I just start that again? Okay, hi everybody. I am feeling like waning moon, luteal, luteal menstrual phase. This is a time during the cycle. So if you menstruate, you can follow that aspect of it. If not, the moon, same idea. The waning moon phase, luteal phase, it's sort of draining down, moving towards darker energy, quieter energy, and that's what I'm feeling today. Let's work with that a little bit in our practice. So we're going to take a moment to connect, and I'm going to do that seated. If you'd rather start laying down, that's fine. We'll meet up together in a few moments. Start to find your breath, find your body in space. If that means you're kind of moving around a little bit or taking some sighs, that's great. You might already feel like stillness is that spot for you. And you may want to take a moment to connect with any specific intentions that you have for today. And for me, it's just kind of about supporting this lower energy moment. And then we'll start to invite some movement. So the first thing I'm going to ask you to do is try to just move however. So you can close your eyes or keep them closed and just see what your body wants to do. So I know that this doesn't feel sort of easy, intuitive to everybody. Some of you might really love having an opportunity to do this. So if you're not sure, just stay still for a moment and listen to your body. Just pay attention to the sensations that are coming up and let movement arise when and if it wants to. And if you're feeling that movement, it really doesn't matter what it is. You could again be laying down or seated. There's so much wisdom in the body that we almost practice not noticing. I find in our culture, we find ways to kind of deny the wisdom of the body. And so it's really a practice of unlearning that and coming back to trust that our body has some useful things to say to us. We'll just take a couple more breaths here. And again, maybe you're just seeing what it's like to pay attention to your body, the sensations that are there, just being curious without having to do anything about it. Maybe you're already in handstand, I don't know. But I'm going to invite you to meet me in a seat, any kind of comfortable seat that works for you. You could be sitting up on a little prop. And finding a nice tall spine. You can have your eyes still closed. This is pretty simple. You're going to allow your chin to come to your chest. I've just got my hands on my knees right now. They could be beside me as well. I'm going to roll that head lazily to the right. And then come back through center and lazily to the left. So we're going to take our time. I'm sort of exhaling to center and inhaling over to the side. Maybe taking an extra breath if it's feeling good. And then doing that a couple of times from side to side, seeing what feels good in your neck. And I actually kind of hope you're not watching me. I hope you're just paying attention to your own movement. But if you are, you might notice that my shoulders are moving a bit with my neck. So I'm not really isolating my neck. I could. That's a little bit of a different thing that has its value too. But I'm just allowing kind of the upper back to move with the neck. So it's a little bit more open and soft, a little less restrictive. And if that feels good for you to do too, you could just invite a bit of movement there. I'm just going side to side. I'm not really going to the back, though. When you lean to one side, you could lean your head back a little bit and kind of feel the front of your neck slightly. And noticing where that tension is in your neck and shoulders. Okay, and then the next time you move, let's say to the left, it doesn't really matter which side, you can take that left hand down to the ground, side bend a little bit, and reach your right arm up and over. So you're keeping your sit bones connected on the mat, taking a nice side stretch. I like to hold the back or the side of my head here and turn the heart open to the sky. And then gently release that, turn down, move over to the other side, taking the opposite arm up, sit bones rooted, maybe holding the head if that feels supportive for the neck and the shoulder, and turning kind of the armpit up to the sky. We're not leaning a lot of weight into the bottom hand. Both sit bones are still connected. And then we'll turn down through center. And if you're comfortable, you could roll over your shins to come to hands and knees. You could also swing legs around, just whatever feels more comfortable for you. We've been sitting for a beat here, so let's extend the right leg back, tuck the toes under, and take a few pulses with a straight back leg. So you're just pressing your weight into that back heel. And then you can do that on the other side, releasing the knee. And for me, my calf is like, ooh, ooh, hello, I'm here. Okay, and then coming back through center, and we'll take some cat and cows. This is still pretty intuitive. So as you inhale, you're taking a little back bend shape. And as you exhale, you're going to round your spine, draw your belly in. Then do that with your breath. So inhaling into a back bend, drawing the shoulder blades together and down your back. And as you exhale, drawing in. And please feel welcome to play around with this a little bit. If you're finding you want to rock forward and back, make circles, move side to side, we're staying with that kind of trust that the body knows something about what it needs. And if that wisdom isn't coming, that's totally okay. Just do your cat and cow. And then we can come up into downward dog. I find I usually want to put my hands a little farther forward, maybe half a hand print or so, and then press the hips up to the sky. Stillness is totally fine here, but I find a lot of people do like to, quote unquote, walk the dog. So you're bending one knee and then the other. You could also sway the hips, little bend in the elbows. That's very subtle, hugging the elbows in together. Feet could be wider or closer together. And again, we're just kind of exploring, what is my body telling me today? What's going on? And then we're going to come forward into a plank pose. So I like to draw the belly in and bring the shoulders over the wrist. You can put your knees down if you want, for sure. And then we're going to take 3 little push-ups. So think long spine, shoulders on the back. And again, I'm on my knees here. Elbows are going to point straight back. Try to keep the shoulders away from your ears. And it can be a mini push-up, like a half an inch or a centimeter. Okay, you could go as low as your elbows. We're going to do 3. Exhaling to come down, inhaling up. Exhaling down. And 1 more. Awesome. And then we'll lower all the way down to the ground. Point the toes and take your arms out into the cactus shape. So the elbows are roughly in line with the shoulders. Point the toes. Press the pubic bone down, lift the chest. As you inhale, pressing into the hands a little bit, and as you exhale, come down. Do that 2 more times. If you want more, you can bring your hands closer in towards you. We're not necessarily looking for really high here. It's just a question of what feels good in your spine today. I find this so helpful if my lower back is bugging me. Okay, and then after your 3, take a little rest. You could put your chin or forehead on your stacked palms, relax your heels, take a breath or 2. And then we'll try strange cobra. So when you're ready, you'll point your toes and take your fingertips out to the right and to the left. So the elbows are lifted. Press the tops of the feet down, pubic bone down. Lift your chest as you inhale. Exhale and come down. Lift your chest as you inhale, maybe add a little twist, look left. You can dip your right shoulder down, but try to keep your pelvis right where it is. So the pelvis isn't wiggling around. Up through center and over to the other side, looking right. Dipping the left shoulder. If that's working for you, 1 more time each side. If not, just straight up and down is perfect. And then up through center and release. Take a little rest on your belly, chin or forehead. Let the heels drop apart and wiggle your bum. And I'm going to flip over onto our backs, or come onto your back in whatever way is sort of easiest for you. And after that, a little bit of work into the lower back, you might find it feels really nice to hug your knees into your chest and rock a little bit from side to side. If you like happy baby, you could do that here. Nice for your lower back too. Come back to that. Okay, and then place your feet on the mat. So your heels are roughly in line with your sit bones, knees are pointing straight up to the sky. And for now, I'll invite you to place your hands on your lower belly. And what I want you to feel is that you're going to inhale, and as you exhale, you're going to gather in your pelvic floor, and I want you to feel the belly kind of drawing away from your hands, in and up. The ribs are going to draw in as well, so everything is kind of gathering together. Okay, you're going to keep that and gently slide the right leg out in front of you. You don't have to completely straighten it. And then gather it back in. Heel is just sliding along the mat or slightly above it. And then the left heel is going to go forward. And then we're going to draw it back in. So keeping that belly really drawing in and up. Back is neutral. Try to keep the pelvis really steady. Your hands are going to feel that too. This is one of those exercises that looks pretty easy, and it kind of can be easy if you're not concentrating. Okay, you have to put a little bit of the work into it. And if you're feeling like, okay, yeah, I got this, this is fine, we can add on a bit. If you feel like, oh yeah, this is working for me, stick with it, that's fine, okay? Otherwise, when your leg goes to straight, you can try lifting it up and then lowering it again slowly and then slide it in. So that's going to just add a little bit of work for you. So and again, the whole time you're keeping that belly drawing in and up away from your hands. And the pelvis you're trying to keep relatively still, okay? So we're just going to move side to side, optionally lifting and lowering the leg. Keeping that knitting in as if you were tightening a corset around your belly, which is kind of your transverse abdominis. The outer muscles are good too, but we want to make sure those deep inner ones are working. Okay, and if you're finding this is working for you, want to sort of, this is just slightly different. Okay, what you would do is you could add interlacing your fingers and lifting your shoulder blades up a bit. Now this might instigate your belly to pop forward and up. So you can take a quick look at it. You don't have to stare at your belly or anything, but just, notice that that belly button's still going in and up. Sometimes I will just touch it and just be like, hey buddy, stay in, right? Especially important if you've had a baby. This is pretty good if you're pregnant too, depending on how far along you are, how comfortable this is. You might just want to not do the lifted upper body part if you're second or third trimester. Just a little taxing on the abdominal muscles as well. Good. And let's take about one more each side, kind of going at your own pace. Try to keep your jaw relaxed. That's always, my jaw is always like, can I do it? And then when you're ready, we'll rest. So when that's complete, you can take soles of the feet together, knees open wide, or knees together, feet wide is fine. And take some conscious breaths to relax your belly. All right. Let's do one more core exercise for today. So this one, again, you can optionally lift the upper body. What I'd love for you to try is bringing the shins parallel to the ground. So the feet are lifted. Knees are roughly over top of the hips. And again, I've got one hand on my belly, just reminding my belly button to draw in. That's something that I've had to do just especially after having a baby. And then we're going to optionally lift the upper body, make sure that feels safe. Keep that belly drawing in and up. Squeeze the legs together. My toes are really active. And you're going to lean the legs away as you inhale. And as you exhale, we're going to draw them in. Lean the legs away. And then draw them in. Okay, you might notice I'm adding just a little bit of a curl at the very bottom of the breath. And that's lifting the tailbone. Sometimes my lower back doesn't like that. So I'm just going to make sure that it all feels safe to do that. And I might skip it if my lower back is like, no, just listening for that. I find I can still do core in my luteal phase if it's not too intense, which, you know, if that's relative. Menstrual phase, you can do it. It's not going to harm you, but it's like harder, a little bit harder in the luteal phase than other parts of your cycle as well. Just FYI for my menstruators out there. Let's try 2 more. And last one. Woo, and then relax. Soles of the feet together, knees open wide, or the opposite. Some nice deep breaths into your belly, softening. And then when you're ready, you can draw your knees into your chest again and rock a little bit from side to side. And then we can add a little bit of a stretch here. And if you have, here's my, oh, all right, we can use this. So a prop. I was kind of hoping I had my low foam block. I don't know where it went, but this one's fine. A brick, a little pillow, a folded yoga mat, a bolster. You can also do this with nothing. So if you have something that feels okay on your back, you'll just pop it underneath your sacrum. Sometimes I can take more height and I like that, and other times I need it to be really conservative. I'll see how this goes. My lower back's been a little unhappy with me lately, so we'll see how it goes. So I've just got the block on its lowest setting right now. I'm going to draw my right leg in towards me, and again, you could do this with no props if this doesn't work for you, and gently straighten out my right leg. Oh yeah, that feels really good. And then the left knee is going to go wide towards the armpit as you press forward and down through the right heel. So you're getting this kind of stretching on the top of your thigh and into your belly, and breathe into your belly. This is a really good stress release pose. This is one of those places in the body where we do sometimes hold stress. So this can feel good emotionally as well as physically. When that feels complete, just one foot, then the other to the ground, taking a beat to make sure your sacrum feels good and balanced on the prop. If you're using a prop, and then switch sides. So right knee comes in, left leg long. Oh, I have needed this apparently. I'm feeling that tightness on my left side. And again, I don't expect you to be looking at me. You don't need to. But you may notice that my left heel is floating off the floor where my right heel was down. So that just tells me there's a little bit of imbalance in the tightness of the psoas on the two sides. It could be a lot of other things as well, but there's just a little bit of imbalance there. Nothing to judge, nothing wrong. It's just feeling really good to stretch this out. And breathing into the belly. The knee that's hugging in is a little wide. It's sort of pointing off to the top right corner of your mat. Well, and then we'll gently release that and step one foot and then the other to the earth. And take a moment just like that, resting on the prop. If you're using a prop, take a nice deep breath into your belly. This is already a passive stretch for your psoas, so you might really like it. You could take your elbows up over your head. That'll, for some of us, that lengthens the psoas a bit more. And you could also try straightening the legs. For me, this is a little bit dependent on the day, but I find if my legs are really active, that feels better. And it's just a little bit of a different stretch. With the knees bent, it's a bit more relaxed. And again, for me, it just depends on the day. It's not that one's better than the other. It's just what's feeling right in your body. Okay, when you're ready, you can remove your prop if you've been using one. And again, do that whole sequence without a prop. A lot of the same benefits. And just take a moment. Some people like to do this with feet on the ground. Some people like to hug the knees in. Some like to extend the legs out like a little mini shavasana. Just take a moment to receive that softening. And then we're going to take a twist. Let's step the feet a bit wider than the hips, so maybe mat's distance. You can take your arms open to a T or cactus and allow the knees to fall to the right. You can look to the left. You can stay here or stack the knees. So you're bringing that left knee in line with the right. You could hug them in a little bit more. Just make sure you still got that little natural curve in your lower back. So this is more of a classic twist, but I'm sort of moving off my mat a little bit diagonally, so you might need to adjust yourself. I like practicing on a carpet because it's kind of like a wider mat. Okay, and then slide that left foot back to the wide edge of your mat. Bring the knees back up through center. Adjust the lower back if you need to. We'll do that on the other side. And I have less space on this side, so I'm just going to shift over a bit. So the knees are just going to topple to the left. You can gaze to the right, taking a few breaths in this nice open twist. For me, this is more about belly, psoas, thigh, a little bit lower back. And then you can, if you want to, stack the knees. So that's going to pull your hips a little bit more to stack and open your shoulder a little bit more. You might feel that a bit more in your lower back. So it's just going to change the quality of the twist a bit. Hopefully it still feels good. If it doesn't, go back to the previous one. And then we can slide the right foot back to the wide edge, bring the knees back up to center. And then go ahead and draw your knees in, and let's take happy baby if you want to. So you can widen your knees apart, and then you can point the soles of your feet up to face the sky. I happen to be holding my big toe with my peace fingers. Sometimes I like to hold my shins or my ankle. You can hold the inside or outside of the feet. That doesn't matter so much. It's just getting a little bit of support on the legs so that you can open the groin. This is really nice for the lower back too. And then when you're ready, I like to shake the legs up to the sky. Arms could go up too. We're going to travel towards a downward dog. So take your sweet time to get there, okay? There's no rush. You can rock and roll forward and back, roll over your shins. You can roll to your side, whatever you want. And if you want to sort of pause in hands and knees, take a cat and cow, that's cool. Otherwise, you're kind of coming right up into your downward dog. Nice big breath here, maybe noticing how things might feel a little bit different after that floor sequence. And then you can walk your feet up to your hands, coming into a standing forward bend. Knees can rest on bent, no, elbows can rest on bent knees, is how you say that. Keeping the back nice and neutral. If you're comfortable, you can fold down. I usually like just a little bit of support with my hands. Some people like to hold opposite elbows and hang. That's great. Just make sure you're not locking your knees. Some people like to bend one knee at a time or sway. So again, we're just exploring a little bit this shape. Just notice if there's any tension in your neck or jaw that you can release. And then take as many breaths as you'd like to rise to standing. Gather the shoulders onto the back. And take a moment to stand, kind of acknowledging your core. We'll do a tiny bit of flow here. We'll reach the arms up. And as you exhale, fold down. Take a halfway lift, soft bend to the knees. Hands can come to the shins or knees or floor. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees like chair pose. Look up and straighten the legs as you come to standing. And as you exhale, hands come together at the heart. Do that 2 more times, rising up. And down. Lift. And fold. Bend the knees and rise. Hands to heart. Last time. And dive. Lengthen. And fold. And the knees rising all the way up. And then hands to the heart and pause to feel, maybe reconnect your intention. Lean left, pick up your right knee and take a nice big step back into a warrior 2. So you're going to widen your feet quite a bit, kind of standing on like a tightrope sort of shape. So I'm just adjusting so my front heel is in line with my back arch. Arms can open and you want to have your knee right over top of your ankle. So it can be helpful to look down and see the big toe there. Try and soften the shoulders. You can look over your front hand. And then bring your elbow down to your thigh and take your right bicep alongside your ear. Really press out through the outer arch of that back foot, turning the heart open. You can stay here. There are sort of deeper variations into the hip with this one. So you could take a half bind with your right arm. You could bring the left hand down on the inside of the leg onto a block of the floor. You could bind. I'm not feeling like I want to bind right at the moment. Okay, and then you're going to look down, bring your hands down and lower your back knee so that your hips square to the front. Reach your arms up into a nice low lunge. And then we're going to open the arms and twist to the left. So right arm comes forward. You could do this with your back knee lifted if you prefer, reaching up. And twist. You could also fold your mat under your knee, prop there. And one more. Okay, you can stay here or place your hand on your lower back. Flip the right palm, reach it up, maybe hold the back of your skull, lean back a little bit. Press the hips forward. It's not a huge twist, not a huge back bend, just gentle. Then gently return to the open twist. Bring your right hand down on the inside of the leg. Left arm rises and the knee can lift up here if you want as well. Shoulders on the back. And then gently release the hands down, step the back foot in a little bit and take your pyramid pose. So if it's helpful, put your hands up on blocks, just gives you so much more space. And I've got more of a train track space between my feet. They're not on a tightrope anymore. The back toes are turned in quite a bit. I've got a mini bend in my front leg. I'm going to take a halfway lift, draw the left hip back, and then fold. Stay here, or I could flow a little, rising on the inhale and softening on the exhale. Totally up to you. Okay, so two options here. One is you could return to the top of the mat. The other is that if you're feeling some energy coming in, you want to work with it, you could step back to downward dog and add a vinyasa. So you're either in a standing forward bend or a downward dog. If you're taking the vinyasa, come to plank. Lower down all the way or part way. Point the toes, come into cobra or maybe up dog, shoulders on the back. And then press back to downward dog and then make your way to the top of the mat. We'll all meet in that forward bend. Roll up, gathering your core in as you go. Take your time. Collecting shoulders onto the back. You can bring your hands to touch in front of your heart. I'm just going to switch sides so you can still see me. I'm going to pick up your left foot. We're going to do that whole sequence on the other side. So, and that's all the standing will do. Okay. So left foot steps back. And then your right knee, your opposite knee, doesn't matter if you did the opposite side before, knees over the ankle, arms open, shoulders soft, sides of the waist even and long. Sometimes I imagine I'm kind of floating in water. And then elbow to thigh, nice and long through the left side body. So outer arch of the foot presses down. And I actually puff up a little and I press my elbow down and forward into my thigh. So I'm not so much trying to get down as I am trying to really lengthen the side body. So this is a side stretch for me. And it can stay that way. I can take a half bind. That's just a different shape for the shoulder. If I bring the right hand down on the inside, that's more of a hip opening shape. So it just changes the pose a little. Some of you are comfortable binding. It's not for me today. It's not. Nope, no thank you. Go for it if you know it and you like it. And then gently release both hands and the back knee down, at least at first. That'll help to reset your hips and rise up into a nice low lunge. Squaring the hips, hips press forward. You can lift your back knee if you want or pat it. And then on your next exhale, twist to the right, left arm forward. So you're twisting toward your bent front knee. Inhale up and then two more like that. Okay, and then stay in the twist or hold the sacrum with your back hand. Reach the front hand up, maybe hold the skull, and don't over worry about the twist or the back bend. I don't want you getting all crunched up. For me, this is actually kind of about the length from the hip to the elbow. Then the hand can come down, lift up your right hand, and if you want, your back knee can lift. I like that. You may or may not, so feel free to try it. And then the hands come down, back foot steps in a little bit. And we've got pyramid pose, so you can take that length and feel free to use your blocks. They can be so helpful here if your hamstring is quite tight or for whatever other reason. Drawing the right hip back, nice long spine. So fold. You can flow like that if you want to. And maybe I'll just note if your belly is in the way, if you're feeling kind of scrunched, it's okay to widen it a bit. Slightly different stretch for your hamstring, but not by much. Okay, same two options as before. You can step forward into your forward fold, or if you prefer, you can step back into a downward dog and take a vinyasa however you like it. So that's generally speaking plank, some sort of halfway down or all the way, or sometimes I like to do one of those little mini push-ups, and then cobra or up dog. Back to down dog. Meet our friends up at the top of the mat. Let's sit down. You can use your hands or maybe try handsless sitting down. And cross your ankles. So if you feel like you start kind of rolling onto your back and your knees do this, and you feel like you have to hold, that's a great indication that you should sit up on a block. It'll give your spine so much more space. If you're pretty flexible in the hips as I am, you might find the block is actually a bit annoying. So up to you how you want to do that. Let's take the soles of the feet together and the knees open wide. And I'm doing this a bit spacious, so I don't have my heels right up in. They're actually a little bit more of a diamond shape. Some of you might like support under your knees. You could use your blocks or whatever you've got. Shoulders back. So think core very gently engaged, but we're going to soften it gently. So you can start with your head, rocking side to side. Think of what we did at the beginning with the shoulders. And then you can kind of let your shoulders rock side to side. And start to slowly kind of massage your way down different areas of the hips. You can go slow as you want if you find that there's a certain spot that feels like, oh yes, that's nice. Feel free to stay there. And if you're feeling like you want to come down through center and be still, which again, waning moon, luteal, it's a little more stillness focused, so you might not be feeling the flow as much as you do at other times in the cycle, or just kind of randomly. So give yourself permission to come through center and be here if that's what feels right. And then roll up when you feel ready. Gather the knees together, hands support behind you, and take a little windshield wiper from side to side. Some of you might like a little ballet pose, so you lean to one side, press into those shins, and I've got my right hand behind me here. You're lifting up. You can go to the other side. The hand is down, shins are down. The bum lifts up, don't overthink it. And then come down. I find that can be nice on the back sometimes. Then we'll come through center and extend the legs. So this one, if you have tight hamstrings at all, you would almost certainly want to sit on a prop. And I actually love a bolster underneath the knees for this, especially for tight hamstrings and or tight lower back. I'm going to try with nothing and see how it goes. I'm generally pretty long in these muscles, but I know my lower back has been tight. So if it starts feeling like too much, I'll bend my knees. Okay, feet can be I'm going to just work with hips distance. Some people like together. If wider works for you, that's fine too. Sit up nice and tall so you've got a lot of space. And sometimes it's nice to actually get your hands into your belly. Think of lifting it up and kind of laying it on the thighs. That can actually help to lengthen the lower back as you come forward. We're not trying to really pull down. We're trying to find this length like heart through the feet. And if and only if everything feels really safe and soft, you can allow the head to begin to drip forward. Listening for any warning signals from your back. Wouldn't want to do this if you have osteoporosis in your back. Probably, you know your body better than I do. Herniated disc, that kind of stuff. Just stay up a little higher and make sure the knees are bent. If it feels good, if you know you're safe, you can come down. Paschimottanasana, it's the stretch of the entire back body. And then roll on up when you feel ready. Go nice and slow, bend your knees. Take your hands behind you with the fingers pointing in. If that is not going to work for your wrists, you can do fingertips with the fingers pointing out. Okay. Then hug your shoulders onto your back, puff up your chest. You can stay here, or if you want, you can lift up your hips. Reverse table, nice little reset for the lower back. Really good for osteoporosis. Okay, and then you can bring your hips down. Now I'm going to give you some options here. We are winding down, and if you want to add an inversion before we rest, feel free to do that. I am going to add an inversion because I really like that lately. I'm going to take my headstand. I'm not going to really teach it too much. So I'm just going to give you the option. If you like an inversion, you can take any one you want that you feel ready for. And a really nice one, if you're not sure, is laying on your back. You could return to that supported bridge. That's an inversion, or you could do it with your legs elevated, which is all the benefits of the inversion, but just softer on the muscles and the body. So it's a little more appropriate for the waning moon, but I just love headstands so much. I'm going to do one. Okay. So feel free to do one too if you want, or whatever works for you, but just make sure that you're safe in it. Okay. If you don't know it, you don't know how to do it safely, please don't get mad at me. Okay, be safe. Okay, so take that last pose as long as you'd like, or second to last pose, I guess. And then if you need a counter pose, you can take one. So from headstand, child's pose is nice. From shoulder stand, fish. From forearm stand, probably child's pose. Or maybe you're just resting as you like. Maybe there's a last pose that you just really like that doesn't happen to be an inversion or a counter pose, but you just like it. That's fine too. And take a few breaths wherever that is for you. You might also be already kind of getting into your shavasana. We're almost there. And then we will get ready for that shavasana. So if there's anything left that you need to be comfortable, feel free to take it. If you happen to have a bolster, a lot of people really like the bolster underneath the knees, especially if your lower back is a bit sensitive or your psoas a bit tight. You want to put your layers on or whatever else, feel free to do that. And this just feels really nice, but especially if you did headstand. Once you're lying down, you could take your hands, so kind of fingers closed, to either side of your spine on your upper shoulders and just drag the fingers up either side of your spine into your occipital ridge and into the base of your skull. You might even lift your head a little. So it's kind of like you're trying to lengthen the head away from your body. Lay it down. You can do it once, twice, 3 times, 2 times if you like it. Just releasing that tension there. And with a little scoliosis, it feels so good. It's like straightening my spine a bit. And then sort of nod your head to find that really comfortable place where your jaw is relaxed, your neck is relaxed, shoulders are soft, legs are relaxed. Deep breath. In Shavasana, which is our final resting pose for our practice, it's meant to be nothing, essentially. So no conscious breathing, no conscious work, no conscious thought. We're just being, which is, goodness, we don't really do that in our society very much. So see if you can practice that, letting go of everything, but being right here. Maybe you can let go of even that. You are at home if you want to hang out in your Shavasana till you feel like getting up. If you want to fall asleep, please feel free to do that. Rest is beautiful. I know some of you probably have to get going, so if you're feeling like this is complete, you're ready to move on, you can just slowly bring some little movements into your body, fingers, toes. Nice, solid Shavasana acupuncture this morning, so I don't feel like I need as much. Roll over to one side. And your way back up to the seat. Take a moment with your hands over your heart or together there. Take a moment to acknowledge your breath, your body, the long and complex lineage of this practice. Sacredness of the land that you practice on. Each other. Thank you for sharing your practice.